All right, guys, welcome back to the detailed cast of the NST game, Nerf Surf and Turf. It is day 18, and a lot has changed around the world, but nowhere more than in the New World. So we see here that it looks like almost single-handedly, well, I won't even say almost, single-handedly, Bullet Hole has taken over all of North United States and most of central United States, with the exception of this territory right here. And it looks like this has rebelled over to North Canada at some point here. So he doesn't have all of the territories, but almost all the territories. Now, in the process, Bullet Hole did pick up two achievements. The first was rule bending. Rule bending was for the first person to actually control a troop that is outside of their specialty. So that only happens when you capture a territory that is building a troop that is outside of your specialty. Because remember, the only rule here is that you cannot build a troop outside of your specialty. So the first thing that Bullet Hole took over was a territory that was building a bomber. Now, why somebody let their territory be taken over and didn't cancel the bomber, it looks like one of those things where they just left the game. But whatever the case may be, he did take over a actual bomber. So that was rule bending. And then finally, he took over another territory that was building a land unit. So that meant that he was the first player in the game to control a land, air, and of course, he's natural to the surf game, to the Navy game. And so he was the rule gangster, the person who broke all the rules and didn't break them at all at the same time. So he actually won two achievements in this entire captivity over here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here, though, because he is one of three players, and he alone is just absolutely dominating. And it does look like they might have come to an agreement with the southern United States, which would be a very strange thing, because I don't know what's going on. What's happening with northern Canada here? They are pouring troops down. It looks like they're leaving the vicinity. Oh yeah, that's right. They are moving over into England. So very interesting choice here. Again, I think typically we would choose to take over land before we would go across water to take over land, but maybe they've got some sort of agreement now with the southern United States. It's not clear. But what we do know is that Power of Us, who has been struggling all along, it looks like his some of his morale is recovering here. So he's not as bad off as he was. One thing that could happen, of course, we talked about this, is that he could just go ahead and suicide in some of these troops, just get them out of there, just reduce his troop count. He is attacking down into Detroit with a bunch of other stuff, including one cannon from South Canada. So we'll see what happens here. Very interesting stuff. What I will say, though, is that North Canada and South Canada are about where they started, whereas Greenland has now dominated the map. So that's going to make Greenland a global player, in addition to winning those two 3,000 resource expansion sort of wins there with the two achievements. So we'll see what happens there. Each of those, by the way, were worth 3,000 of the resource of his choice. Let's go ahead and continue on around. We do see that someone has found the Happy Fisher Boys. Here they are, 100%. And it does look like Sweden has found them. The Norwegian Fisher Boys have not stopped yet. They're about to stop in 45 minutes. And in 45 minutes, Sweden will be able to take a selfie with them. Now, the question is, can they keep those Fisher Boys to themselves for 24 hours? And that question is a great question, because here comes Greenland. Greenland's coming down with some infantry and 6 cruisers. Now, the trick to the Fisher Boy, the Happy Fisher Boy challenge here, is that you have to keep them to yourself for 24 full hours if you want to gain the prize. If somebody else comes along, you can either leave or you can attack them, because the only way to get the Fisher boys to go home is to spend 24 hours with them alone. So it clearly looks like Sweden here is wanting to make a bid for that. And it also looks like the newly knighted superpower of the new world here, Greenland, is coming in hot. So what is at stake here? Well, what's at stake for this particular challenge is a decent little gem over here, which is this wood tile here. This wood tile comes with a harbor, a railway, and of course a forest to chop, that's the wood, and some iron. I have not specified how much iron will be gifted when you take this, but some, and 2 Goldmark speed ups. So this is quite the prize here. A piece of the Norwegian landscape. We're giving them away little by little here, but it will come with some building materials, wood in the place of sort of the natural resources, and some unspecified amount of steel that will be gifted over immediately, as well as all the natural sort of benefits that come from having this territory. So that's what's at stake here. We'll see what happens. It does look like right now it's Greenland and Sweden here that are making a bid for that particular bonus. So we'll see who wins that in the next few days. This particular challenge was designed to pit people against each other. The whole idea that you have to keep Fisher Boys isolated to yourself for 24 hours, that was bound to invite some conflict. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep our eyes on that. So one of the interesting things that we did see over here was that Morocco is moving towards southern United States. So if the North, if Canada, if the frozen North has made some sort of agreement with the southern United States, nobody told Morocco, because Morocco is continuing to march in that direction. We'll see what happens. There's not a lot of troops here. There's 7, 10. There's 10 troops there, and then 10 coming. So 20 troops on their way. We do have ships in the sea that could easily destroy all of them. So we'll see what happens. Southern USA apparently just kind of floating around their ships down here. Not sure what's going on there at all, but we'll see moving forward. Again, we have Sweet Salt and Oli here that do appear to be sort of focusing a lot of their attention on the Mediterranean. Let's move over. I've been avoiding this because what a shit show the Mediterranean is. Like, oh my God. We see Italy with 2 subs here. We see Morocco with a sub. We see Italy with 3 cruisers. Let's not forget over here, Italy now has a battleship on the field. So Italy now with a battleship. It looks like a battleship, 2 subs, and 3 cruisers. Probably some others that I'm missing, but that's a decent little navy. But the Caucasus, again, sort of showing up with some devastating ordnance here. We have 7 cruisers right here with the Caucasus. We have 3 subs, which are hidden from others. Luckily, this video won't be released for 7 days. And a battleship coming down. A battleship. Ouch. Now, let's not forget that Caucasus is actually allies with Ukraine, right? So Caucasus, Ukraine, and Romania here. Well, what does that mean? That means Ukraine is down here also. Sizable force, which is just a balloon and 22 infantry, but something nonetheless to be considered. Down here, we have a continued march eastward into Arabia. If you look at the newspaper, Arabia is claiming victories. I don't see those victories per se. What looks like happening here is Morocco has captured one of these territories, and it looks like Western Libya has captured 3 of these territories, and it does look like Morocco is on the march to capture 1 more up here. So I kind of see Arabia going down. Finally, we do see this big Egyptian army moving in. Strangely, this Egyptian army hung back a lot at first, and then hasn't really taken anything, but maybe this is their moment to shine here. Maybe they can take this. Maybe they'll take these last few over here. That would be nice for Egypt, because Egypt would like to get a few more extra territories. In fact, Western Libya and Eastern Libya both expanded significantly, whereas Egypt has not had a chance to branch out and gather more territory. So hopefully This will be their chance now to gather a few more. So we look now what's happening in the Ottoman region. It seems to be fairly stabilized until you look a little bit closer. Romania is stacking up heavy on this Arabian region of double wood. I mentioned this earlier, that they're going to tolerate that as long as Arabia remains a thorn in the side of their southern enemies. Once Arabia folds, guess what? They're taking this. They're going to take this, and they are poised to take it. It looks like Romania will probably take this sooner than later, taking advantage of that double wood. Couldn't hurt. And then I'll go ahead and say Morocco, God bless you. And it looks like Morocco has 40, Western Algeria has 15, but we have 2 artillery here, 2 more artillery coming in, and we know what that means. Unless there's something over here that can counter that, 4 artillery are going to take over this entire continent. So I predict in the next few days, this Central Alliance here is going to take over the entire Ottoman Peninsula here. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Something else that I do feel like bears paying attention to is Ukraine has free passage with Syria, right of way with Syria. That's pretty huge, because whatever happens down here, Ukraine is just waiting there, just like. And the great thing is he's not taking this, because remember, Ukraine is more or less allied with Arabia. But as soon as Morocco takes this, if they feel like they're ready to go to war over here with Morocco, which I think is going to happen as soon as they can and land and come over to here, there may be a coordinated attack both into Morocco here and into Morocco here, which will leave West Libya exposed moving back in here. So this 43 is a big problem for the Southern Coalition. We'll look at that in the future moving forward. Oh my gosh, so much stuff going on here. So as we move forward, we do see a lot of stuff happening here. One thing in particular is that the last bastion of Polish force here, here's Poland, up here is Sweden coming down. The last bastion of Poland force is being attacked now by Finland. Finland is taking out the last bit of Poland, and that will be good for several people who happen to be at war with Poland. Of course, it just gets rid of that last little, morale buff that you've got going on there. So a little bit of cleanup happening down here. Poland exiting the map. It does look like France is going to hold on to Vienna here. France with big stacks, again, very hesitant to use those stacks. So you can see right here, France has 105, 107 guys and 4 artillery. That's dominant in this region. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like France could take over this entire Western European, sort of Central European, everything here. And maybe there would be, probably there would be repercussions from that. In fact, there definitely would. There's a lot of stuff here. Here's Finland, Sweden, and Northern Russia here with, a good 50 troops there. Nope, 40 troops. But still, against 100 with 4 cannon. And then, and then there's more stuff here, but then here's 30 more from France, and here's 24 more from France with a couple more armored cars and more stuff streaming in. Here's another cannon coming in. I don't know. I think one of the things that we have to think about in this game is timidity, and how timidity can be as damaging as overwhelming arrogance, right? So there's 2 problems. If you charge forward and, with way too much confidence, of course, that's terrible. You end up destroying yourself against forts. You end up leaving yourself too thin for counterattacks. There's all sorts of problems with attacking with too much confidence, right? But then timidity loses wars too. Timidity is that thing where you just hold back, even though, guys, talk to me. Am I wrong? There's a lot of stuff back here. So I'm not saying that France could sweep all of this stuff, but I don't know. Again, I'm not in the game. I'm just, this is unique to me because this is the first game I've ever cast that I'm not actually in. So I have to be really careful about it. It's like, it's easy to armchair quarterback, but I'm not actually on the front lines. I'm not actually in these countries viewing all the different things that are going on, looking at all my resources, what I'm short on. what I need to save up for and whatnot. So I want to be really careful about being judgmental about this. But I will say some wars are lost because powerful players don't attack. And I'm not saying that's the case here, but I've been a part of them. I've been a part of those where I'm like, when is my ally going to attack? When is this going to happen? So we all need to be conscious of that. And so again, part of what we're doing here as we cast this game is talking about the larger game, the larger strategy that takes place in this game. And that means talking about this idea of how much do you attack in with? How much do you hold back? And that's a very, very delicate balance to strike. And we're all of us trying to make that balance as we go forward. So let's go ahead and rotate around here and look at what's happening here. Paige is back. Paige was gone for, I'm going to say, 3 days. And that can be devastating in a game like this. If you're gone for 3 days, that can crush you. And so not only because you've lost that sort of interface with everybody, sort of that diplomacy, but also because look at this. What do we have here? We have one factory that has a harbor. So keep in mind, this is a naval power. One factory with a harbor. What about Liverpool over here? Nope. No harbor, no factory. Really? That's a double iron. That should have a level 3 factory on it by now and a harbor. So I think Paige has suffered from being out of the game. I think it's as simple as that. And if you're not in the game every day building stuff, and by the way, remember we're allowing gold marks 1,000 a day, just building stuff and boosting stuff. So right now, Paige has one cruiser, and Paige should probably, as a naval country, with these 4 have been part of the empire since early in the game, and then a lot more land over here has been included. I would say that Britain should probably have 4, 5, 6 cruisers right now, and they don't. And so I would really attribute that to being out of the game for large periods of time. You just can't do that. You can't do that. And unfortunately, this game punishes people who, have a life, who have things to do in their lives. And don't get me wrong, like I have a life, I have a career, I have a wife, I have kids, I do holidays, I go out to eat, like we're about to go do a murder mystery dinner theater thing tomorrow night. Like I do things, but like you have to prioritize this game. You just do, if you really want to play, you have to. And so I think Paige really suffered from being out of the game for a few days there. And again, who knows why? I don't know why. Like things do come up. But Great Britain, who was a huge player in the game, it does look like is sort of fading a little bit because of that. Once you get behind on factories and behind on economy and people stop taking you seriously, that's when they start taking you as lunch, right? They start thinking about you more as lunch instead of as a partner, more as a, predatory snack. So we'll see what happens here, but already we can see that the mainland empire of Britain is shrinking, and we'll see if they can maintain that. Again, a lot can happen through diplomacy, but you've got to back it up with economy and military strength ultimately after that economic peace. What's going on up here? It does look like Russia is about to be gone forever. It looks like a huge flowering situation down here, which is not inappropriate because that is a nice defensive. It looks like Russia has backed up all of their defensive power into this one spot here. That does have looks like a 50%. Let's check if they've got that 50% bonus. They do not. So they're building this right now up to half. So there is confusion about this, and I also felt this confusion. When you're building a fort like this, it looks like it's almost all the way up to level 1. It's not. Forts build, once they've been knocked down and you're rebuilding them, they build in half forts. So this fort is, what is that, like 66% the way to a half fort. Once this completes building, you will have a half fort, and then you need to restart building again, and these troops will have that half fort 50% protection. Right now they got nothing because this is 60% of a half fort. So a little bit confusing to me earlier as well. Been kind of trying to figure out how forts get rebuilt and so forth. Very interested to see what happens here. We do have, what is this? Artillery coming in behind from Finland. Very nice. That will support this attack. In fact, that is currently attacking. Oh, that's not good at all. That's really bad for Russia. So we have 4 artillery attacking in as this flower comes in from northern Russia. And again, we see Finland supporting northern Russia capturing. And that is a great team play right there. That is one team laying down the artillery and allowing their partner to capture the territory so that that can benefit their economy moving forward. And we do see northern Russia here with big stacks that, as soon as this is taken care of, can march southward with. Now, what does that mean for this central power down here? I don't know. But I promise you, Hemland, Swedish Viking, and Raya Force are thinking about it. I promise you they've already reached out to the northern powers, and they're trying to work something out with them, because we now have, I would say, in this region, 3 dominant powers. We have the north, we have the center, and we have the south. Put into that mix is we have the wild card here, the Western European wild card of Harkold, Grandma Karen, earlier General Penis, now Grandma Karen, and Papa Smitty. They are a serious power as well that seems to be sort of, I would say, playing the merc, sort of working on the outskirts, and sort of, it's hard for me to say because I'm just watching what's happening. I don't know what's going on in those back rooms, but I'm watching what's happening. And it looked like Papa Smitty was active for a while and then pulled back a little bit. So I don't know what's going on, but I do know that Papa Smitty is the most obvious person to be involved because he's the Navy player. But let's wait and see what happens once air comes fully online. Once we start to get some bomber fleets in the mix, we can see maybe a little bit better about what this coalition is doing. But for now, we have Papa Smitty sort of dancing around in the Mediterranean, threatening, pulling back. Who knows what's going on? That's all I have to say, because, and you can't blame them. Here Papa Smitty and his crew are between this sort of rock and a hard place. And then, of course, the center, which is the hard place of that proposition, is also between a rock and a hard place, between the north and the south. There's just layers of complexity here. This is a very complex game, and I'm here for it. I love it. Very interesting things going on all the way across the board. And again, I've seen some people, they're like, oh, Spanx was dissing me in the video. And I'm not. I promise you I'm not, because I don't have all the details. I'm just sort of armchair quarterbacking here, and I'm trying to be respectful about the idea that I'm not on the ground and I don't know what's going on with the resources and all the pressures that are involved, all, political pressures, diplomatic pressures, geographical pressures, resource pressures. So I'm just doing my best here, and definitely will probably end up being an asshole and and misrepresenting somebody. So sorry about that, but I'm just having fun. Like, honestly, this is a great game. This is a very complicated, very interesting game. I'm very interested to see what happens as these coalitions inevitably start to break down. I've made it very clear, if you want to be in first place, you have to have one of each specialty. If you want to be in second place, you have to be one of each specialty, right? Now, the game might say one thing, right? The game might say second place is this player or whatever, but I'm saying that in terms of our community and in terms of this event, I'm awarding a gold, a silver, and a bronze to 3 teams. This is a team event. We made it very clear. It was a team event from the very beginning. So if you want to win gold, you need a Nerf, Surf, and a Turf to take first place. If you want to win the silver, it's the Nerf, Surf, and Turf, a team of 3 that takes second place. And so there are going to be some fragmentations happening. I mean, South United States is a great example here. They are alone now. They are, I believe, a surf, because we see the boats down here. They're a surf in search of a Nerf and a Turf, right? Possibly a Smurf. I don't know. But we're going to see that as we move forward. How will these fragmented countries come together? I don't know. We'll see. it's going to be very interesting to see. But I will say, if you abandon your partners because they're not doing so great, that will be frowned upon. Now, if your partner has been away from the game, as we saw with Lithuania here, as we saw with Greece, as we saw with the Ottoman over here, then that's very justified. If somebody just leaves the game for a while, then yeah, just go find somebody else. But if you're not happy with how your partner is playing and you decide to drop them and bring somebody else in, then we need to kind of have a conversation about honor, about loyalty, and so forth and so on. But we'll see moving forward, because a lot of that has to be explored and figured out as we go. All right, that's about it, guys. I've taken up enough of your time and your energy and your heart, your heart, your heart space, your heart glow. All right, I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. All right, anyway, thanks guys for checking in. I'm glad to see y'all. It's been a great game. Thanks for checking in. We'll see y'all next time. Adios, amigos.